Thank you very much for the introduction. I have to say good afternoon to everyone who is joining us from around the world, especially from Japan. Thank you very much, Bill. Thank you everyone at UPAA for inviting us. My name is Bahar. I'm an associate professor in financial economics in the School of Economics and at University of East Anglia. University of East Anglia is based in Norwich, the main city in the county of Norfolk. We are about 2 hours driving from London, north of London, and less than an hour via plane to Amsterdam. We are a campus-based university, and there are many faculties, and within each faculty there are many schools. And today I'm joining you from School of Economics, which is one of the schools in the social science faculty. And what I want to talk about to you today, I want to explain to you what is economics. And you can see on your screens that the title of the talk is What is Economics? What is and what ought to be? And that is exactly the definition of economics. Economics is the study of how societies use their resources. This is a definition that you will without a doubt see in many textbooks, in many lecture notes from your teachers, and in the future, if you want to study economics, this is a definition that you will see. And I'm going to analyze every single word of this definition. First, we have the word society. But what is a society? Society could mean many things. Could be people in a household, could be us, the people who are on this webinar call, could be students in the university, could be students at UPAA, it could be the people who are working in a factory, it could be the whole country, it could be a whole population on planet Earth. So society could mean anything, could mean any forms of gatherings of people. Then we have the word resources. Obviously, you might think, well, resource could be money, could be our income, maybe it could be our land, it could be what your parents are giving to you, but it could also be our leisure time and our study time and work time. It could also mean any other societal values that we as human beings hold. For example, you going and vote, that is a resource, that is your resource that you can spend it. Then if you pay attention to the two different types of definition, we have economics as a study of how societies use their resources, and then how societies should use their resources. So I want to make a distinction between using and should be using. So part of economics is about understanding the facts, knowing about how is it that the world works the way it does, investigating about different facts that you see in your life. But economics is also about thinking about how we could make the world a better place for us to live in. So the second part of a definition is about making recommendations, making suggestions. You may be making recommendations to the government, you may be making recommendations to different councils, different charities, different organizations. So you can see that economics is such a broad definition. It includes and involves everything that we do every single day, the facts that we see in our life, and the things that we want to achieve, the things that we want to improve. And I believe it's very important for us to understand the diversity of a university degree that includes economics involves. The diversity is very important. The word economics, when you hear the word economics, you might think Okay, I think this is about how the country works, how the economy of the country works. This is a very, very small portion of what economics is. So I want to show you the diversity of what economics could be. And in order to do this, I'm going to show you the titles of some of the undergraduate modules that we teach in the School of Economics at University of East Anglia at UEA. You maybe know, maybe you are studying economics, or maybe you've heard that economics is going to include some microeconomics and some macroeconomics. These are the two modules that are highlighted in white at the top. Economics could also be about data science, understanding how the data works, understanding how everything that has data are related to each other, understanding the relationships between everything that we see. So some of our students are very much interested in that area. For example, they study programming and data science. They study econometrics. That is when you apply statistics further on data that includes economics. That's further on going to be called econometrics. Many of our students are interested in the world of finance. So economics, a subset of economics is finance. These students would be studying economics of financial markets, corporate finance. How does a firm work? How is it the relationship between its debt and its equity? Maybe you want to know more about risk management. You want to understand, how do I become a successful trader? You want to know about other areas of investment. Or you might want to know the relationship between psychology and finance, psychology and investment. So behavioral finance does this. You also might want to know about the current financial affairs around us. So these are the typical modules that we have in the school for students who are interested within finance, within economics. It may be that you want to study economics because you want to know more about everything on a global scale. You want to know whether trade improves the well-being of people in different countries who are trading with each other. Whether you want to know about development economics, whether you want to understand why is it that some countries who have lots of resources, they have gold and they have diamonds and they have oil, but yet they are a poor country. Maybe you want to know how is it that economics are integrated with each other. So these are the modules as well as macroeconomics that will serve those students who are interested in economics on a global scale. Many of our students, many people who want to study economics, they want to be successful businessmen and businesswomen. They want to understand the economics of business decision making. They want to know, how do they strategically win when they have to make different decisions? They have different options. Which one is the best for them? Maybe they want to more understand about labor economics. For example, they want to understand, why is it that still in many countries women are paid less than men? Is it because they have children? What are the reasons? Why is it that some countries do these differently? Why is it that we see different trends? And also, many of our students, they want to study economics so that they understand what is a fair competition between different businesses. For example, compare Amazon and Alibaba, or compare Google and Amazon, compare Apple and Microsoft. All these giant businesses, what is a fair competition between them? Maybe you want to study economics so you can understand more about how does competition in digital age works. These are the modules that teach students to use economics not only to make profits within the business, but also to understand what are the correct strategies. How do they price the products each business has? But also, what is a fair competition? And how do we deploy this fair competition between different businesses? We have a module in the school called External Consultancy or Dissertation. And this module has links with external businesses outside of UEA, either in Norwich, where UEA is, or in London. And students work for different businesses. Many of our students also want to study economics because they want to know more about the environment around them. They want to know more about public policies. They want to know more about how governments make decisions. And they want to question the decisions that governments make. They want to see whether the decisions that many regulations have made, are they actually for the benefit of us, consumers, or is it just for businesses to make profits? As you can see, we have a module, Economics of the Environment, and that is the one that I want to focus more about today. But before moving to economics of environment, you can also see that there are several modules that we have in the school that have links with psychology and behavior. And this is part of economics that sometimes gets forgotten. As you can see on the list, there is behavioral finance, there is behavioral economics, there is a behavioral economics of inequality. So these are some of these modules are new within the UK universities. And this is the very interesting thing with economics, that because it's a very current subject, what we teach to our students changes day by day to make sure that it serves what the society needs, what the society wants, what the employers want. So for the purpose of today's talk, I'm now going to focus more on economics of the environment. And you might think that, how come she's an associate professor in financial economics, but she's going to talk to us about environment? And this is the beauty of economics. You can apply your skills in many different areas. So now, see how I've planned the talk. What is economics within environmental economics, within economics of the environment? We first want to know the facts, the what is part of economics. Then after that, after we've seen some facts, we want to find the tools that we need in order to make the situation better. And we are going to be doing some investigations. We're going to be thinking and we're going to be investigating. We are going to dig deep into areas that the facts are coming from those areas. Ultimately, my goal is to make a recommendation, the part of economics that I call what ought to be, what should be, what is the best that it could be. And I hope you can see that the facts are the facts. They are not changing. But every one of us, because our brain works in a different way, we all can make different recommendations. And this is the fantastic part of economics, that two people who are studying economics, two people who've graduated with a degree in economics, they might come to different recommendations because their brains are working differently. Maybe something is more important for them. So you might not agree, you might disagree with the recommendations that I'll make towards the end. And I'll be happy to see what you think. So now, let us get the facts correct. And I do apologize for any of the names that I am not pronouncing correctly. Okay, the facts. By 1960s, it was clear that something was wrong. Now, this fact that I'm going to show you is all specific to Japan, but this was everywhere in all different countries. I don't know whether you've heard of Yokkaichi asthma in 1961, or whether you've heard of Niigata-Minamata disease in 1965. These were some of the catastrophes that happened in Japan in 1960s because of industrializations and urbanization, and people's health was really deteriorating because of many mines and people working and the air being very polluted. I don't know whether you've heard of the very big fog in London and 400 people died on that day. So these were all catastrophes that were happening everywhere. I hope if you ask your parents, they might have heard of this, but you might want some more recent examples. Maybe you've heard about deforestation. Maybe you remember from the advertisement of this talk that we said Japan has lost more than 18.6 kilohectares of natural forest since 2010. If you want to imagine how big is 18.6 kilohectares, that is equivalent to around 8,000 football fields. So that is a vast area. If you are more interested about digging deep into the facts, the top 7 regions were responsible for 54% of all tree cover loss between 2000 and 2001. And we can see Hokkaido, Iwate, Miyazaki, Aomori, and Fukushima. So these are the facts that we have in front of us. And you are thinking, okay, these are not good facts, right? We want to live in a healthy world. We want to be able to breathe. We want to see and enjoy trees. We want to go for a walk. We want to see nice sceneries. So why is it that we are seeing these facts? It's because governments are building roads. They are building houses. Populations are growing. If you compare countries now to 200 years ago, the population has grown. So all of these reasons. But is there a way that we could come to a balance? This is how the brain of an economist, of someone who's studied economics, works. These are the facts. Let's see what is it that we can do with this. So now we need the tools. We need to do some investigations. Let's see what tools do we need here. The tools that we need, first, we need to know about environmental economics. We need to know more about several concepts that are going to be very useful and very needed. So for many countries, I cannot think of any country that they don't have this objective. The major objective is to have a positive and a steady growth in the economy of the country. Maybe you've heard about the gross domestic product, GDP. This is what countries want. They want to be profitable. They want the people in the country to live comfortably. They want to have lots of businesses. They want to have profits for these businesses. And why? Because we assume that societies, they want to live more comfortably, become more prosperous. So because we want to afford to live more comfortably, we need more money. So this is what happens. Growth leads to more money, and that makes us very happy. I can say that money surely makes me happy. I can only hope that it does the same to you. So this is still, we are looking at the facts. So this is why we see these catastrophes, because this is the way societies work. Countries want growth because everyone needs more money, because everyone becomes happier. But what about welfare economics? We assume that people are better off if they have a higher level of utility. You can see already that I am changing the words. I'm using the word utility rather than more money. I'm saying people are better off rather than saying people are happier. These are the jargons that we use in economics. They are better off if they have a higher level of utility. So this is person A. It's got 3 bars of utilities. You can see these 3 blue bars. And we want to see whatever this person A does, whether the act of person A is going to have an impact on other people around it. So this is what welfare economics does. Welfare economics considers the processes by which we can raise this utility and discover ways that the well-being of the whole society could also be improved. Also looks at ways that maybe an act of an individual or of an event doesn't improve the well-being of the society. What if person A is playing, for example, an instrument? I don't know whether you play any instrument at home, but I'm sure that when you're playing that, or for example, if you're listening to music, your neighbors might not be very happy, but surely that has increased your utility. You're much happier. Do you see these 2 yellow bars that have gone up? This is definitely making you happier. But what about everyone else? What about other people in the society? So we also need to consider the total impact of an action on social welfare. Person A, we also have person B, and we have person C. When person A starts listening to music or playing the instrument, person B loses its utility while person C has an increase on the utility. So an act of an individual or of a group could have different impacts. So when we are talking about industrialization, for example, building roads, building airports, we need to consider that there might be some positives. For example, you can get quicker to places, but building roads might not have a positive impact on everyone's life. What about the people who are living very close to the roads? What about all the trees, all the birds that are going to be lost because you want to get quicker to this next city that you have a job at? In order to understand how we could measure these increases and decreases in utilities, we need a tool. The tool that we are going to be using is within the cost-benefit analysis. Literally, cost and benefit. We need to see which one is higher. So this is a technique which looks to measure the social worth of a proposal, of a project, or of an act that a society is doing. And how do we do this? We need to calculate a value for each of the outcomes. And we need to see what is the net value? What is a net? Is it a profit in total when we add everything up? Or is it that we are losing? Everyone is having lower utility. Everyone is unhappy now because of what has happened. And there are 2 important facts here to consider within other things. The net present value, can you see the word present has a different color? So that means that not all costs and benefits of our action is going to be felt right now. For example, I might do something right now, but you might feel the impact in a month's time, in maybe even in 10 years' time. So we cannot just think about right now. When you are building a road, you cannot just think about I am only focusing on what is going to happen to my business in a year's time when the road is built. You also need to consider about 100 years from now. So we need to be aware that the costs and benefits do not happen at the same time. So 2023 is not the same as in 2073. So if you have 1 yen or 1 pound, right now, it is not going to be worth exactly the same in 2073. In 50 years from now, the 1 yen that you have will be worth far less than what you could do with your 1 yen today. The other important fact is that not all costs and benefits are very easy to calculate the value of. For example, if you're buying a house, you know how much the house is worth because people are buying and selling. You can see how much they're willing to pay. But how do you value a countryside? How do you value clean air? I mean, who is it to say, oh, if you breathe in clean air for 20 minutes, you have to pay 20 yen or you have to pay 5 pounds? I mean, that just doesn't work like that. So how do we find values? How do we find values when we want to listen to birds, when we want to breathe clean air? Some people say, why don't we measure the cost of people getting sick, of not having a clean air, of having polluted environment, see how much the doctors and medicines cost. Maybe that is the value. That could be a measure. But what about everyone else who are not as sick as those who are in hospitals or unfortunately are dying because of pollution? But they are not just simply living a comfortable and happy life. So you see that there are some areas where it's not very easy to come up with a value. And this is a job of someone who's studied economics to come up with solutions for these two facts. So look at some proposals. We are now getting closer to recommendations. We've done some thinking and we've done some investigations, and we want to get closer to what do we think, what is our recommendation. Examples of big proposals. For example, governments want to build a new housing estate on existing countryside. There are not enough houses for people. I'm sure people in Tokyo agree with me. People in London, people in all big cities. So governments want to build new houses, or they want to build wind farms. Let's not use electricity, let's use winds. What about building a new airport runway? You know, that is going to improve businesses, lots of profits. People can go away on holiday. It's going to make lots of people happy. But the big question here is that the impact of some of these actions may be delayed and require discounting. This is another word that we use in economics when we want to say the 1 pound worth today is going to be worth far less in 10 years' time and in 20 years' time. So that is why we use the word discounting. For example, if a car factory opens in February 2023, in April, there's going to be a car sale. You can go buy a car, or if this is your business, you're going to have more income. You're going to have some profits within a year. But what about global warming that is going to happen in January 21-23? Have you taken that into account? So you see, in this example of the car factory, you need to think about two actions: the car sales and the global warming. It's very easy to know the number for the car sale, but very difficult to come up with a value for global warming. Also, the car sale happens right now, April 2023, but global warming is going to happen in 100 years from now. So you see, it's a very complicated question. If someone is asking you, you've studied economics, can you give a recommendation? You have to take all of these into account. As we just talked about, non-market goods. So this is another jargon. This is another concept that we use in economics, that products, goods that cannot be purchased on open markets, these are called non-market goods. Global warming, clean air, these are concepts that is very difficult to come up with a value of. See, it has a question mark. What is the value of that? So the first point on discounting is a very big debate. What is the correct discount rate that we need to be using? There are people written billions of books and articles. Still, we are discussing today, what is the correct discount rate? How important is it? Everything that is going to happen to our environment in 100 years from now. Also, how do we come up with a value for non-market products? How do we find a correct value for the society's welfare? So these are the two important facts that we need to take into account. And what you see here on the slide, this is actually what I teach to my students. What we have is that you've been asked to make a suggestion, to make a recommendation. I hope that everyone knows about Tokaido Road. Is by far the most famous road in Japan, as far as I know. I mean, I know this because it's an ancient road and it's connecting all these different places in Japan. And government is asking you to make a recommendation. They want to expand parts E and G. I don't know whether you can see this on your screens. Between Nikko and Shirakawa, points E and G, they want to expand the road. And they're asking you, can you say yes or no? Do you think the benefits, the impacts for businesses, for everything else is going to outweigh all the costs? And what is a correct way for us to measure this? There is a table. It's got impact, period 1 and period 2 as the two columns. Under impact, I have given you different categories. There is a travel time. As you can see, before the road is expanded, travel time is minus 350. After the road has been expanded, travel time has gone up, plus 500. So the minus 350 is a cost, whereas plus 500 is a benefit. So when the road has expanded, actually travel time has decreased because it's given us a profit. Number of road accidents have increased because the road is bigger now. The road is wider, so there will be more cars, so more accidents. Noise, you can see the noise has increased. So people who are living around between E and G on the sides of the roads, noise levels have gone up for them. And coming up with a value for noise, that's not very easy. There is about 100 years of people studying to understand what value can we give to noise. Local services and companies, you can see that they're now making more profits, plus 450 after roads have expanded. So that's very good for services and companies. Local housing values, the houses around this area, their values have increased because you can go to different places quicker. There are more prosperous businesses, so you can afford to pay for more houses. Bigger houses, better houses, so the value of houses go up. Biodiversity, you can see that is decreased. How do we measure biodiversity again? This is a job that is very delicate. Tourism has increased because if, for example, I'm going to Nakasendo, point 2, route 2 on the map. If I'm, for example, at CTC, which is Shimozuwa Shuku, again, I'm very sorry for my pronunciation. I know the roads have expanded, so actually I can go and visit Shirakawa because I can travel faster now. So tourism has improved. Air quality, it was -50, now it's -50. So you can see that maybe the air quality has improved maybe a little bit. We have less costs for air quality. Water quality, you can see that before it was poorer, now it's improved. Usually this happens when roads are expanded, there are better infrastructure, because roads are wider, cars are not going to be stuck in traffic. So that helps with air quality. Soil erosion, again, these are environmental impacts of expanding the roads that we need to take into account. And I can tell you that there are many countries who are making decisions on expanding roads, and they're not taking any environmental impacts into their calculations. They are not including noise, they're not including biodiversity, they're not including water quality or soil erosion into their calculations. And you can see how wrong this could be. The example that you see, these numbers are from a project that happened here in Norfolk a couple of years ago. So these are actual numbers that a government has come up with these values. But I'm just giving you a hypothetical example of if you're asked to expand the roads. So your recommendation is going to be based on what you come up with, taking all of these impacts into account, and taking into account that I also need to discount what air quality and soil erosion and biodiversity is going to be in the next 100 years. It's not just right now that I need to think about. So this is a very brief snapshot of what the economics of environment or what environmental economics is about. Hopefully you've seen that we looked at facts, we done some thinking, and now we are making recommendations. And this is really what many people who've graduated with a degree in economics end up doing. If you're interested in doing different types of jobs, for example, being a consultant, being a risk analyst, being an investment banker, or working in places such as different banks and different governments, I don't know, Amazon, Google, these are the typical places that people with an economics degree get a job at. But hopefully you've also seen, because economics is so diverse, you don't have to be an accountant or a statistician. You can just be a consultant to any firms, any local beings, any societies who need recommendations or who need someone to dig deep into their facts. That is all I had to say for now. So, arigato, thank you for listening. I'll stop sharing and I'm looking forward to see what questions you have for me. Thank you.